Hi, this is Fernando Hernandez, and this is my final presentation for the CIT 260 project, the series of Aaron. And I'm gonna start explain the static and non-static function. So the keyword static means that the method can be run without having an instance of the class. So the static method belongs to the class and we don't need to create it. So we can access that using just the name of the function. For example, the public static void cell and view function that we create in our project. The we can be it can be called in the do action by just typing the name cell and view. You don't have to create any instance of the class. On the other hand, then a non-static function requires to create a new object or instance of the class in order to allow to be called. This is because the methods that it comes with the class are created once the new object or the new instance is declared. So, for example, in our game, the player instance of the class is created in the new game option. It's created new player, and then we use the function that is declared in the set name function method. We call it by using player. That's the name of the variable that we created to store the new instance of the class, and then dot set name. That is the name of the function. Second thing is about the use or the difference between enums, arrays, and array list. So an enum list are a set of constant values. So these values are no cannot be changed. So they are declared in the code. For example, as we use the first time when we create the team members, we add each of the names and places of the locations for the team members in the same class. So for example, in here table member one and the name and the place, member two. So these values are created once the class is declared. And this is a good opportunity to use when we had two values that are constant. For example, the name of the dates of the week, or probably number of items limit or something like that that can allow us to create this enum and use it better. Second are arrays. So arrays are a static fixed size list. So every time we create an array, we had to declare the number of elements we are going to store in the array. So for example, we declare an array with 5 elements, and we cannot add more than 5 elements without having to create a new array. So, for example, in this case, for the map, we create a double array or a two-dimensional array that we add the number of rows and columns that we are going to use. In this case, this is a limit map that we had a 5 by 5 array. And this is a good when we are going to create a maximum of list that we can now allow to store more elements that a specific number. The third element are the array list. Array lists are dynamic data structures. So we can add or remove values or elements from the array. So it's the same as an array, but this time we don't have that limitation that is fixed. So when we create the array list, we don't declare any number of elements to store. So the array list includes some methods that we use to add and delete or call or get the values of these storage stored in the array list. So, for example, if we want to access an array list, so we had an array list in our game that we use to store the list tools, and to call the data, we need to get the index or the number or the position of the element we want to get. For example, the value stored in the second place, that will be a number one. And then we use the functions we want to call, or everything, or all the if the value stored in the array list is an object, we can call the methods included in that object. So for example, in this example, we have a tool list, and we use the get method from the array list class and to retry the values. And inside the parentheses, we have the index, so the position of the element we want. And then because we use this array to store the list, we the list that we had from different tools, we use the method getName to retry the value inside that object. Now I want to show you the try and catch blocks. So the try blocks and contains a set of statements where an exception can occur. So, for example, in our game, we have the public static void plant crops function that it was we had to use to check the value input by the user and see if we get a no allow or invalid value. For example, if the acres to plants are less than 0, that will be we can't plant a negative number of crops. So we use that as an exception. And normally that will mean that we can't continue with the game. So using the drop exception, we can display a message to the user so they can uh, check again the value and insert a value that is valid. So a try block is always followed by a catch block. So the catch block, it contains all the methods or steps or lines of codes that we are going that the program will execute if we get any exception from the try block. So, for example, in this case, when we have the plant scrub view, and if we get the exception, we get the message, "Oh, sorry, we can't do this," and displays the message that we declare in the cover section in the class, and display that message so the user knows what to do. Now, there are two different ways that we can pass values to or write data and to the disk. And there's the character stream and the byte streams. So basically, the character stream automatically reads and write data character by character. The byte streams process data byte by byte, so meaning in limits of 8 bytes. So 8 bits. So the thing is, when we are going to write a file to the disk using characters like letters and numbers, these characters are normally 16 bits. So that's why it's necessary or it's better to use the character stream when we want to write export data to the disk. Is byte streams are very used when we want to process raw data or like binary files. So now how we uh, write data to the disk, we can use a print writer Java class that is already pre-built with Java. And the first thing we had to do is create a new print writer object that we and then pass the file path as an argument. Okay, so the user inserts the file path where we are going to export this file, and then we use any of the print methods that includes that it comes with the object or the print reader class. So to add all the data we want to export. In this case, the item name and number. And at the end, we had to close the object. This will finish the process of writing that data. And then we had our file in the disk. So final last steps, I want to show you the walking through our game that we created uh, on this project. So basically, we run the code, it displays the main menu, and if we start a new game, and it asks us to give an introduction and asks us to introduce our name. So, for example, after that, we get the game menu. We can view the map, or we can view and print any of the list that we had. For example, the tool, animals, anything that we comes with. And in this case, for example, the animals, we will see the the display message and enter has the if we want to save this or not. Okay, or for example, we use the tools list, and it asks us if we want to export the list to a file. Okay, we are going to do that so you can see the export, and we can insert the file path and the extension of the file, and we had successfully tool created. I'm gonna show you I'll show you how this file looks. Okay, you can see in here. Okay, and lastly, I'm gonna show you how some of the functions runs to manage the crops. So, for example, we display the crop report, or we are gonna sell some land. So this has how many land we want to sell. Insert the number. Now we see the new report, and we can see the new values updated. And lastly, we're gonna plant some acres, and we get the new value. So basically, we can use the different buttons to return to the game, and we finalize our game. So so this is my project for CIT 260. I'm Fernando Hernandez.